the Activated Storyteller's 9th podcast.
This week's story is Follow the Buzz. It's a story from Japan.
Hi, I'm Dennis.
And I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Zephyr. And we are the Activated Storytellers.
This week, we are podcasting from Kumuyaga, Nippon, otherwise known as Kumuyaga City, Japan.
Yay, Japan! We finally made it.
Nippon ichiban desu.
Japan, number one, yes.
We arrived here yesterday afternoon, which was the middle of the night by California time, so we had to adjust our internal clocks a bit. But we had a nice trip over.
We had a very long trip over. I think we all stayed up for about 23 hours straight and had an 11-hour flight.
They had on the flight movies where you can select what movie you watch. They had a whole entertainment system and a screen in front of you.
And how many movies did you watch, Zephyr?
I saw 5 movies in 11 hours.
So we have one happy Zephyr with us.
And we took a northerly route to get here rather than going straight across the Pacific. We actually went up. We went all the way up almost to Vancouver before we turned and headed out over the ocean. And even then, we flew over the tip of Alaska and apparently over the tip of Russia as well, or at least within sight of it.
There was a part where it was completely covered by clouds, but there were these mountains poking up through the clouds. We think that was part of Russia. We're not sure.
What was interesting, too, is it was daylight the entire way. 11 hours, no night, all bright, bright, bright.
And now that we're finally in Japan, we're really having a ball. It's very fascinating country. And you hear a lot of stereotypes about different people. One thing you hear about Japanese is that they're very polite. Well, let me tell you, that is a tremendous understatement. They are incredibly polite, incredibly helpful, wonderful, wonderful people.
Yes, we're having a good time. When we landed, we went out to dinner at our first Japanese restaurant.
At this restaurant, instead of sitting down in chairs, you take off your shoes and you sit on sort of a raised platform. And there's pillows on the platform that you sit on, and the table is very low to the ground. It's within a couple feet, and you sort of sit with your legs under the table. I guess it's kind of like the Japanese version of Denny's or something like that.
Now, today, Zephyr and I went out to attend a haunted house, a Japanese haunted house. And this was at a shopping mall of all places. But it was there to commemorate the Festival of the Dead, Obon in Japanese, which is a time of year that they honor their ancestors. And this haunted house was part of that, and also there was a little fair going on at the mall.
The Japanese word for haunted house, by the way, is Obake Yoshiki, which literally translates to a ghost mansion, I believe.
Yes, it does.
But I'm a haunted house nut. So I absolutely had to stop and see that. Me and Dad did it, and our friend Keisuke, but Mom was too scared.
And the cost of the haunted house was 400 yen, which may sound a lot to Americans, but a yen is roughly equal to a penny, so it was only about $4 each. And one of the difficult things to get used to here is the tremendously large numbers you're dealing with. Seems like a lot of money, but it's not really as much as it sounds.
Right, and this week we're may not have the best sound quality. We're kind of using equipment that we don't normally use, so please forgive us, but we had to pack light coming over here.
Gomen nasai.
Gomen nasai, we're sorry. And this week we have a story for you. This is a story that we have been performing for the past year on stage as part of the production Daring to Dream. We've been touring the United States with it, and we will continue touring the United States with it until December of this year. So you might have a chance to see us perform it live. And when we do it live on stage, we have adopted some of the traditional Japanese-style theater, and we use masks and whatnot. It's Japanese traditional theater.
Yeah, we use some of the elements of traditional Japanese theater.
Right, and for this podcast, we are going to be throwing some Japanese words at you. So be listening for those. A few Japanese vocabulary words for you.
Long, long ago in Japan, which the Japanese call Nippon, there lived a husband, go-shujin, and a wife, okusan. And they were very poor.
Every day, the husband, go-shujin, and his tomodachi, friend, would go to the fields to work. One day, the husband said,
"Oh, I am hungry. Let's have something to eat."
And so they did. And then he said,
I am sleepy. Let's have a nap.
and so they did. And while they were sleeping, the friend, the tomodachi, had a strange dream. Yume. He dreamed that a bee, mitsubachi, a bee, flew out of his nose and off into the city, and that he followed it into the city and into the home of the richest man of all of Nihhon. And when he awoke, he told the husband about his strange dream. The husband said,
It has been said that whenever someone dreams about a bee flying out of his or her nose, it is a sign of good fortune. You should follow this bee, find this garden and this rich man, and perhaps you will find good fortune.
But the friend said,
I do not believe in such superstitious nonsense, and besides, I have no desire to take such a journey.
So the husband said,
I will buy your dream from you.
Well, the friend, the tomodachi, thought about this, and he decided,
Hi.
yes, he would sell him the dream.
So, the husband walked home to find his okusan, his wife, and when he got there, he told her all about the strange dream and about the journey he was going to take. She thought it was an interesting story. She also thought he was crazy.
Baka.
But she knew that there was not much point in arguing, so she packed him a box lunch with some salted fish and some pickled plums and some rice, and she wished him good luck, and he was off.
It was a difficult journey. It was a very long journey. It took 3 whole days. And on the first day, there was a storm, arashi. The rain went za, za, and thunder, goro, 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 goro.
On the second day, he was attacked by a ferocious bear, kuma.
And on the third day he was followed by robbers, goto, who wanted his money. And when they saw he had no money, they wanted to kill him. But he got away.
Finally, he arrived at the home of the richest man in all of Nippon.
Hajimemashita. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
Kochira koso, hajimemashita. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
Nice to meet you, he said. Then he told the rich man all about the strange dream. The rich man said,
My servants just planted that tree, in the garden yesterday. I am certain that there is no treasure to be found there, but you may dig if you wish.
And the husband started to go out into the garden to dig, but then the rich man had a thought and said,
Wait. First, you must rest. Here, eat and sleep.
And so the husband rested.
And while he was sleeping, the rich man called his servant to him and gave him a shovel, and told him to go out into the garden and dig under the tree. So the servant went out and dug under the tree until he found a box of gold, a treasure, takara. Very excited, he took the gold in to his master, and his master took the gold out of the box. But then he thought about it and said,
Take this box back out into the garden and bury it again under the tree.
And so he did.
The next morning, when the husband awoke, the rich man gave him a shovel and said,
You may dig under the tree. Be my guest.
So the husband went out and dug under the key, and finally he found the box, and he opened it, and out flew a swarm of mitsubachi, bees, that chased him all around the garden. Finally, when all the bees had left, he peered inside the box and saw that it was empty. He was heartbroken and embarrassed, but he went to the rich man, and he said,
I'm sorry for all the trouble I have caused you. Gomen, nasai, please forgive me.
And the rich man said,
It is okay. It is okay. Here, why don't you take some gold for your troubles?
The husband did not realize that the gold was only a small part of the treasure, so very sadly he started back home.
Meanwhile, back at home, his wife was having a strange dream of her own. She also dreamed that a bee flew out of her nose and flew all around the house, And then as she watched, a whole swarm of bees flew out of her nose and all around the house. And she wondered, how could they have gotten in? Well, she looked all around the house until she saw a hole in the floor. But that was strange. There was no hole in the floor. Well, anyway, in her dream, all of those bees flew back into her nose, and that woke her up.
What a strange dream,
she thought. And then she remembered that her husband's friend had had a similar dream. So out of idle curiosity, which is never really idle, by the way, she decided to look around the house for a hole in the floor, and finally she found one, a tiny hole about the size of a bee. It wasn't even a whole hole, it was just half a hole. Well, she stuck her pinky in it and pulled and pulled and pulled until up came a secret door. And she stuck her lantern inside the door and found a secret room that she didn't even know was there. I guess that's why it was secret. And in the room she saw... Well, we'll get to that in just a moment.
Meanwhile, the husband is on his way back home, and the going back was just as difficult as the going to.
Once again, he was pursued by robbers. Goto.
Once again, he was attacked by a ferocious bear, Kuma.
And once again, there was a storm, arashi.
Finally, he arrived back home. His wife, Zoku-san, said,
Come, look what I found.
Nah, I'm tired.
Come, look, you're not going to believe it.
Finally, she persuaded him to come and see what she'd found. And when he saw the secret door, he decided he would climb in and see what she'd found. So he squeezed through. It was a rather tight squeeze, but he made it through okay. And inside he found books, hon. Lots and lots of books. Old books, rare books, all kinds of books. There was a little gold, but the books were more interesting because most people in Japan at that time did not even have books. And thus they became not only the richest, but also the wisest people in all of Nippon.
And that's the story that we call Follow the Buzz.
Which is available in your library, maybe in your library, in a book called The Bee and the Dream.
Right. Check the 398 section. You might find a version of that story at your library.
Now, we're going to resume our exploration of Nihhon tomorrow. Nihhon, or Nippon, it's sometimes called. We're looking forward to seeing some great things here.
Now, there were some Japanese words in that story. So just to review quickly, we had go-shujin, which is husband, okusan, which is wife,
Yume, which means dream, tomodachi, which means friend,
mitsubachi, which means bee, takara, which means treasure,
and bear is kuma, robbers is goto,
storm is arashi, and the tree is ki.
Right, and they also say za, za, for when the rain falls, za, za. It's kind of like an onomatopoeia, and goro, goro, for the way the thunder sounds, goro, goro.
I want to mention, too, that we are staying with a Japanese family here, and we hope next week to get them on the mic to say hello to everyone for a moment.
Right. We'd also like to say thank you to Japanese Pod 101. They have a podcast that we've been listening to for the past 3 months as we've been studying Japanese, trying to learn enough to come over here and be able to speak a bit and understand. So big thank you to Pira-san and Japanese Pod 101.
Arigato, Japanese Pod 101. あなたたちは一番です。あなたたちは一番ですよ。
Yes, Japanese Pod 101. You are the best.
ありがとうございました。Japanese Pod 101.
Yes, thank you very much, Japanese Pod 101. If you get a chance, if you'd like to learn some more Japanese, we highly recommend that you check out JapanesePod101.com.
That's about it for this week. Tune in next week. Matane.
Matane.
Matane. See you later.
The Activated Storytellers perform at schools and libraries nationwide. On stage, we use American Sign Language, physical comedy, imaginative props, and a giant, oversized book to bring the stories to life. For booking information, check our website at www.activated-storytellers.com, where you can also find out when the Activated Storytellers will be performing near you. read a story, or order one of our audio CDs. Until next time.